There have been great men of history, whom we will remember for their accomplishments, for what they have given this world, or simply for who they are. But most of these men are known for one highlight, one crowning achievement for their time here on Earth. Whether it was his time in the FDR administration, the creation of the Social Security Act, or organizing the development of Crystal Mountain Ski Resort, there was never a task too daunting. Today, we honor a statesman and a poet, a gentleman and a family man, one who has worked on the very foundation of our social structure, a visionary whose compassion has touched many generations without them even knowing it. His proud legacy is one to be revered and looked at as a shining example of someone who never took no for an answer and always went the extra mile. One who has done this in almost every aspect of his life for 100 years. This is the story of a Renaissance man. This is 100 years in the life of Francis Ancil LeSourd.
Living in a logging camp up there, coming in every night with all beat, my legs were all beat up. I had to go way out in the wilderness where they'd cut the trees down, and I'd cut the limbs off the trees and cut them into logs, and then they would send the choker equipment out there. I'd fasten it to the logs and hike out of the way over all a pile of debris, and the steam engine would haul the logs into the railroad to load them.
At night, in the bunkhouse, sore all over and with bleeding legs, Fran would listen to an old chap who made the beds and cleaned the place.
He was making beds. He'd originally been a high climber, the guy who climbs up the tree that they're going to log off and cuts the limbs off in the top of the tree. He climbs up with his spiked boots. He was the highest paid guy in the whole logging operation. But then he got old and all he could do was to make beds. And I thought to myself, I need to find some occupation that the older you get, the more valuable you become. And my father had always wished he'd studied law. I was then my first year of college in foreign trade, and I wrote down from that logging camp and changed to pre-law.
In early September, after his adventure in Alaska, Fran and his friends drove east. Arriving in Penn Station with only their backpacks, they found a room near Central Station. While touring the city, they heard something about a commotion in the Wall Street area.
I was in Wall Street. Wall Street was jammed with people just standing around by the hundreds of people. Not a sound from them. They were stunned. All their savings had gone by the board.
After some time in New York, they went down to the Seamen's hiring hall to try to ship out as deckhands. Despite their lack of experience, they ended up as deckhands on a U.S. Steel Company freighter heading around the world.
He'd had me down scrubbing in hot sunny days, down scrubbing the deck, and said he was going to make a good husband out of me for somebody. Yeah. In order to get back to start law school where I dropped off, I had to jump ship in Honolulu, which I did. And, of course, they didn't pay us all our pay. When we were at Honolulu, I didn't take a chance of that. I didn't get much. My father wired me the money to get back to Seattle from Honolulu, which I did and got back in time to start law school again.
Francis Ancil LeSourd and Elizabeth Burgess Roberts were married on February 18, 1935. After their wedding, they left on their honeymoon, which eventually took them skiing at Mount Rainier. There happened to be a Seattle Times reporter at the lodge who asked to take their photo. As Burgess stood on her skis, she promptly fell to the ground. As Fran was helping her get to her feet, the picture was taken. It was run on the first page of the Wednesday Seattle Times under the heading, Beginner's Pluck. 1941 was an eventful year for the LeSourds. On December 7th, they had arrived home from the slopes to find that Pearl Harbor had been bombed and the city of Seattle was in a blackout order.
So we came down off the mountain, and the mountain troops, ski troops were up there. They were all piling into conveyances to leave. They'd been summoned back because Pearl Harbor had been bombed. So we came down, and we expected to maybe get bombed here. We turned off the lights at night and kind of lived in some fear and trembling.
Fran attempted to enlist in officers' training, but was told he was too old, so he kept managing the law firm. In 1945, Fran was appointed as a commissioner of the Seattle Municipal Civil Service Commission.
You know, it's also Juneteenth celebration. It's the celebration of the Emancipation Proclamation today, and it's important to acknowledge your leadership in breaking the color barrier for the Seattle transit drivers. As a member of the city's Civil Service Commission, he fought discrimination back in 1945. A lot of us thought we were fighting it in the 60s and 70s. Fran was doing it 20 years before us.
Found that very satisfying. One of the things, Seattle had never had a black bus driver. They all had to take civil service exams, and all the blacks had been flunked. And as chairman of the Civil Service Commission, I ordered that change, and we dug out several really qualified black drivers and had the Civil Service Commission give them the driver's exam, which had always been given by the white drivers, and flunked the blacks. And we found some good drivers, and that started the use of blacks as bus drivers in Seattle.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear
Throughout your life, you have accomplished more than I can say. You've faced so many obstacles, but have always found the way. The most admirable things about you, though, are not the things you've done. It's your strength of character, your heart, and the respect that you have won. Your spirit of giving and unselfishness has given people hope, and for your work and dedication, you're stuck with all us folks. A lover of the slopes, he founded Crystal Mountain Ski Resort. A lover of the sea, he supported a yacht club on Seattle's port. You've been on the front page news, Seattle knows you by name, and you deserve to be recognized and enjoy your fame. What he did for his community was noble indeed, but his contributions to his family by far exceed. I want those who have not met you, and those that only know you from the press, to know that you're not just a name, you're different from the rest. As an experienced sailor, he placed first in many meets. On the dance floor, he's always light on his feet. You are kindness, hope, and love. You've always been there with a smile. You are my granddad, the one who makes so many things worthwhile. A noble, generous person of integrity, a truly great man. I'm proud and honored to carry on the name of my granddad, Fran.